that kind of night for the Warriors. One step forward and two steps back. They could not get the offense going, but at times when they did, when they got a bucket, the Mavericks would beat them down the floor the other way, score in the paint. They dominated in the paint, and they earn a win, 109-99 over the Warriors in Dallas. The Mavericks now 10 games over 500 at 38-28. And the Warriors fall to 3 games over at 34-31. So if you were holding on to hope that the Warriors might be able to catch the Mavericks, that has taken a drastic turn for the worse over the last handful of days. The Mavericks, who were really struggling, they have righted the ship. Meanwhile, the Warriors have lost 3 of their last 4, back to 3 games over 500. They're still safely in the 10 seed, but when it comes to trying to climb to the top half of the play-in, it's looking difficult for the Warriors, and we'll break down all the numbers for you before we do wrap up Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game on this Wednesday evening. But first of all, welcome in. Mark Randy with you on 95.7 The Game. Pleased to be with you again here on Warriors wrap-up. Warriors fall 109-99. It was competitive throughout. It was tied after 1. Warriors trailed by 6 at halftime, trailed by 6 going into the fourth quarter. The Mavericks, though, a run to begin the fourth just as they did to begin the second, and the Warriors just simply did not have enough buckets in them today. Down Stephen Curry, down Draymond Green, no one other than Jonathan Kuminga. I suppose you could also include Trayce Jackson-Davis had any sort of shooting night. Moses Moody got some garbage time buckets up. He was 4 for 8 from the field, and Andrew Wiggins was 5 for 12. Not terrible, but Trayce Jackson-Davis 5 for 9. But the star offensively for the Warriors was Jonathan Kuminga, 27 points. A game-high 27 points, by the way, 8 for 17 from the field. He was the Warriors' offense. He made both of the threes that he took. He got to the line 10 times, made 9 of them. Really love what I'm seeing from Kuminga and his ability to get to the line no matter what the game script is, how the game is going, what the flow is. He's still getting to the line often, and that is a key for the Warriors moving forward. But simply put, not enough offense elsewhere for the Warriors in this game, aside from Kuminga, who shot 8 of 17 from the field and put up 27 points. The Warriors simply were not good enough. They made 29 field goals by players not named Jonathan Kuminga, and 29 for 75. 29 for 75 for Warriors not named Kuminga today. That's not very good. As a team, they shoot 40% from the field, and the game was hanging around. It was hanging in the balance for much of this game until maybe about the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter when Dallas put together the finishing touches on a big run that put them up by 18 at one point, and at that point, the game just about over. The Warriors put a little mini burst together, maybe their best offensive burst of the night, honestly. Once they got down by 18 in that fourth quarter, they began to hit a couple of threes, but just too little, too late offensively for the Golden State Warriors, and they lose to the Mavericks again by a final score of 109-99. Dallas has now won both of the matchups against the Warriors this season, and if you are thinking about the standings, let's run through them here really quick before we do dive into the specifics of this game, and I want to hear from you guys tonight. Disappointed by tonight, or did you chalk this one up as a loss once you realized that both Steph Curry and Draymond Green were going to be out? Because if we're looking for silver linings, I think we can find some silver linings in this game. I think the biggest one is Jonathan Kuminga, as we were just talking about. But ultimately, the Warriors are searching for wins at this stage of the season, and if you have legitimate aspirations at making it easier on yourself to potentially make a run, you want to get out of the 10 seed, because as the 10, you've got to win consecutive road games in the play-in just for the right to maybe take on the Denver Nuggets. That's not an easy thing to do. So this was an important game, but it's also a situation where you're down perhaps your 2 most important players. So 888-957-9570, that's the number to call. It's also the Comcast Business text line, 888-957-9570. And I've got the YouTube chat up as well, youtube.com/957thegame. The chat, as always, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. But before we dive into the specifics, how about a look at the updated Western Conference standings? There is still a game in action right now in the West. In fact, there might be 2 games in action in the West. One of them, though, includes the Trailblazers. They are near the very bottom of the Western Conference standings, so we do not really care about that one. The only one that we do care about is the Kings and Lakers doing battle in Sacramento right now. The Kings have a 9-point lead with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter in that game. I think that Warriors fans should be rooting for the Kings because the Kings might be difficult for the Warriors to catch up to. The Lakers are close to the Warriors, and the Warriors have 2 more games coming up against the Lakers. So the Lakers are certainly catchable. So if the Kings hold on, I think that is the result that Warriors fans should be rooting for. I'll keep you updated as that score continues to develop here on a Warriors wrap-up on 95.7 The Game. But looking at the standings, knowing that both the Kings and Lakers are in action right now, currently the Warriors sit at 34-31, 10th place in the Western Conference. They are currently a game and a half behind the Lakers for 9. That could balloon up to 2 games if the Lakers come back and win, or at the end of the night, the Warriors could be a game behind. The Mavericks now are sitting a little bit prettier in 8th. They are now 3.5 ahead of the Warriors for 8, and the Kings currently sitting in that same mark for 7. They're percentage points ahead of the Mavericks, 3.5 ahead of the Warriors. But again, they are winning currently in the second half, so if they were to hold on, they would improve to 11 games over 500, and they'd be 4 full games ahead of the Golden State Warriors if they hold on today. That's for the 7 seed in the Western Conference. So the Warriors have a lot of ground to make up just to get to the top half of the play-in tournament, and it's looking more and more and more like perhaps the 9 might be the Warriors' best bet. Get a home game against potentially the Lakers in the play-in, and you try to go from there. We will see. We'll continue to update, again, this Lakers-Kings game, which certainly has Warriors rooting interest. I think Warrior fans should be rooting for the Kings because the Kings at this point might be very difficult to catch for the Warriors. Okay, so the Warriors fall again in this one, 109-99 is the final score. A 10-point loss for the Warriors, who are now 34-31. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games, losses to the Bulls, the Spurs, and now the Mavs. A win mixed in there against the Spurs as well. Up next for the Warriors is taking on the Lakers in LA on Saturday, so you do have a couple of days off before you got the Lakers coming up in a few days. We'll see if both Stephen Curry and Draymond Green are available for that game. If I were to bet, I would bet yes that both Draymond Green and Steph Curry play in that game. But that's a conversation for the next couple of days here on 95.7 The Game. Okay, so this game was a game of runs. It was the Mavericks that got out to a run early, and it kind of spanned the first and second quarters. The Warriors, in fact, had a 4-point lead late in the first quarter, and then the Mavericks closed the first on a 4-0 run to tie the game after 12 minutes, and that run continued into the second quarter. Spanning the 2 quarters, the Mavericks put together a 17-2 run to build an 11-point lead at 40-29 early in the second quarter, but then the Warriors responded right back, an 11-2 run in response to that 17-2 run by Dallas. The Warriors got right back in it, and then the game was kind of back and forth, nip and tuck. You don't have either side making many shots. I mean, the Mavericks at one point were 1 for 17 from three-point land, and you consider who they have. They've got some good shooters out there. The Warriors were dodging some bullets for the Mavericks, who just simply were not making their shots early. I mean, this Mavericks team only put up, 48 points in the first half. The Warriors put up 42. You score 42 and you're only down by 6. That felt like a major win for the Warriors. But then it was the beginning of quarter runs that really hurt the Warriors. That run to begin the second paired with the very end of the first. And then for Dallas, after the Warriors scored the first 2 points of the fourth, it was a Trace Jackson-Davis tip-in on the first possession of the fourth quarter, cut the Dallas lead to just 4 points. So suddenly the Warriors are within 4, and you're thinking, can they pull this thing off in Dallas without Steph, without Draymond? If they do, this would be one of the most impressive wins of the season. It would make them 1-1 on the season series with Dallas, which keeps you in line for a potential tiebreak win against Dallas, because you do have them coming up 2 more times. It's a huge win because maybe the Lakers lose and you gain a whole game on the Lakers, all of that. You also gain a game on the Mavericks. Huge result it would have been for the Warriors, and then Dallas right after that TJD tip-in to make it a 4-point Mavericks lead to begin the fourth quarter. They go on an 11-0 run, does Dallas. It ultimately turns into a 16-2 run, so a 4-point Dallas lead turned into an 18-point Dallas lead, and that's the lead that we were talking about earlier. 18 points with about 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Warriors made a couple of shots late, but too little too late. Of course, at that time, then finally some Dallas shots begin to fall, and the Warriors ultimately lose by 10 points, 109-99 in this one. A game of runs, and it was the Mavericks with 2 big runs, the Warriors with 1, and ultimately their second big run, an 11-0 run that was almost the margin of victory. They win by 10 on the strength of that 11-0 run early in the fourth quarter for the Dallas Mavericks, and they, again, get the win over the Warriors, 109-99. All right, Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. It's Mark Randy with you, recapping the Warriors' loss in Dallas. Let's go out to the phone lines here on Warriors Wrap Up. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. It's also the Comcast Business text line. Up next is Craig in Portland. Craig, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Craig. What'd you think of the game tonight?
Man, I thought I saw a lot of. There was a lot of I thought was like really. I don't know, man. I thought a lot of the calls that were going a lot of the Mavericks' way towards the end of the game, man. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Craig, appreciate the call. That didn't even register for me. I thought maybe they missed a goaltending at one point. The refs did. They did call one later. I think it might have been on Gafford, either Gafford or Lively. Those two, that combination of big men for the Mavericks, by the way, very good. The refereeing, the calls didn't really strike me at all in this game. I mean, simply put, the Warriors just didn't have enough offensively in this game. If you're going down the list of reasons why the Warriors lost, you might have to get down to like reason 27 before the referees come up. Like that was not a factor, at least in my opinion, at all in this game. I thought the Warriors played for the most part, a hell of a game defensively. I mean, this is a Mavericks team that can put up some points, and they were 6 for 27 from downtown. Again, 1 for 17 at one point. Now, again, I think some of that was not the best defense. It was simply Dallas missing a handful of shots. But at the same time, the Warriors were able to, force Dallas into some uncomfortable moments. Luka is going to put up decent numbers every single game because that's how good he is. But you held him to 21 points on 7 of 18 shooting, 1 for 6 from downtown. You held him from getting his 8th consecutive triple-double. He had 21 points and 3 rebounds and 9 assists. Kyrie Irving was closer to a triple-double than Luka, by the way, interestingly enough. Kyrie had 23, 8, and 10. Kyrie was more efficient, 500 from the field, 8 for 16. Ultimately, though, I thought the Warriors did a pretty decent job defensively in this game. I was really interested in how they were going to come out and try to defend Luka Doncic because nobody has been able to slow him down at all. If you were listening on Warriors Live, you heard me read these stats out. Prior to today, Luka's last 7 games, all triple-doubles, averaging barely under 36 points per game, 11 rebounds, over 11 assists per game, shooting over 50% from the field and over 38% from downtown. And since January 17th, his last 23 games, 13 of which had been triple-doubles, over his last 23, 13 triple-doubles, averaging 36 points, 10.5 rebounds, 11 assists, 51% shooting, 38% from downtown. And you hold them to 21, 3, and 9. That's a major win for the Warriors in this game. And you saw early, it was Andrew Wiggins on Luka. He was the primary defender. The Warriors tried Gary Payton II on Luka a handful of times as well. There were some moments where Kuminga matched up on him, but for the most part, it was Andrew Wiggins. Interestingly enough, it was Chris Paul that was matched up with Kyrie Irving to begin the game. And you get to a point where the game is so up and down and you got all these screens. The primary defender oftentimes doesn't even really matter all that much because you got the pick and roll and a switch. You got a big man on Luka or a big man on Kyrie and all of that. But for the most part, I thought the Warriors' plan defensively against this Mavericks team worked pretty well. And sometimes you got to get a little bit lucky, and the Warriors got a little bit lucky dodging some bullets with Mavericks missed threes on shots that they generally make, high percentage shots, a good offense. You just simply didn't make the shots. You got yourself a good look, but they didn't fall. But the Warriors, again, all in all, played a very good defensive game in this one, especially when you consider you're without Draymond Green. Now, offensively, on the other hand, it wasn't as if the offense was so terrible in terms of the way they executed, because the Warriors got a handful of open looks. They just missed a lot of them. I thought if the Warriors, and this isn't a groundbreaking thought or anything here, but if the Warriors were going to have a chance to win this game, they needed Klay Thompson to shoot well. And the fact that he was struggling all game long, he hit a couple of jumpers early in the third quarter, right at a halftime, made a three, I think on a steal and a transition pull-up three. He could have, I think it was Podziemski running the floor. He could have passed it to Podziemski for maybe a layup in transition. Instead, he pulled a three and hit it. Then the next possession, or maybe a couple of possessions later, hit a tough fade away from the baseline. And you're thinking, okay, Klay, if you catch fire, there's a real chance the Warriors could sneak out of Dallas with a win. But that was really the best moment for Klay, like a minute stretch to begin the third quarter. He finished 3 for 13 from the field, 2 of 7 from downtown, only 8 points for Klay Thompson in this game, and was a minus 13 in his nearly 27 minutes. The fact that the Warriors were even close in this game while Klay had that kind of shooting game, honestly impressive. Now, I know the Warriors are not in the business of, moral victories, but if you are trying to find any sort of positive, I mean, you were right there neck and neck with a Mavericks team who was at full strength, by the way. You did not have Steph. You did not have Draymond. Your best offensive weapon, at least your best shooting weapon, had no kind of shooting night. You didn't get a great shooting night either from Chris Paul, who was really good against the Spurs. He was only 4 for 12 from the field, 1 of 4 from downtown. He missed a handful of those 12, 13, 14, 15-foot mid-range jumpers that he's made a living off of throughout the last 20 years. He missed shots that he normally makes. Podziemski wasn't at his best offensively, at least shooting the ball either. He was 4 for 12 from the field, 11 points for Podziemski. I thought made a couple of questionable, perhaps, decisions at one point. He had a fast break opportunity where he could have passed it off to Kuminga, and instead he took it into a double team. A couple of guys who were back and chasing him. He took it right to the teeth of the defense, and he missed a layup. Could have kicked it to Kuminga, to a cutter. I think Klay was near the wing as well, maybe for an open look. But that's what happens with the rookie, and I'm not going to dwell on a single mistake by Brandon Podziemski, but it just was a relatively not smooth game for the Warriors offensively in this game. Wiggins was 5 for 12. You had Klay Thompson, 3 for 13. Chris Paul and Brandon Podziemski were 4 for 12. Again, Trace Jackson-Davis was really solid, but he's not going to be able to put up the offensive numbers that carry you through a game like this. Really, the Warriors' only consistent option in terms of let's weather this storm, like put us on your back for a quarter, for a half, and keep us in this game until our shooters get going, was Jonathan Kuminga, and he did the very best he possibly could. 27 points for Jonathan Kuminga, 8 for 17 from the field, got to the line 10 times. 10 times for Jonathan Kuminga, and he made 9 of them. I thought Kuminga was really impressive in this game. And considering that you are, like if you're the Mavericks coming into this game defensively, you know that there's no Steph, and you know that there's no Draymond to facilitate everything. Obviously, you're worried about Klay Thompson getting going from the field, but you held him in check throughout the majority of this game. Again, other than like a 3-possession stretch in the third where maybe the Mavericks were holding their breath for a moment, hoping that Klay Thompson did not catch fire when he made 2 of his 3 jumpers in this game. Other than that, you really were not that worried about Klay all game long. So if you're Dallas, at some point, priority number 1 defensively becomes stopping Jonathan Kuminga. And Kuminga, he's at a certain point where if he's having any kind of decent game, he is able to kind of shrug that off. He's able to shrug like being the number 1 priority for an opponent off and still put up 20-plus points on you. 27 points tonight, and it wasn't like he did anything that special. And I mean that in a very complimentary way. Like, he got a quiet 27 tonight. And when you are able to get a quiet 27, that means, first of all, you're making it look easy. And the expectation is, hey, go out and give us 25, JK. And JK's doing that now. So if there is a positive out of this game for me, it's that JK is finding ways to score when opponents are keying in on him, and he's doing it in a number of different ways. He made 2 threes today, and he picked his spot, 2 for 2 from downtown. Got to the line 10 times. The rest of the Warriors got to the line only 9 times. And JK was 9 for 10 from the line. He's still slashing. He's finding great times to cut to the basket. There was a moment in the first half where Wiggins was facing up in the left corner, jab step right, then drove baseline. The help defense came, sensing the need for an outlet for Wiggins. Kuminga then comes crashing in from the right wing, a perfectly timed cut to the basket. Wiggins heads up, finds him, perfect pass to Kuminga, catch, gather, dunk, easy 2 points. The game sense has jumped so far for Jonathan Kuminga, and it's been on display for a while now. I thought tonight it was on display really for the vast majority of this game. 27 points, the highest score in the game tonight for the Warriors. 8 of 17 from the field, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, had 4 rebounds, a couple of assists as well. Now, the one issue was Kuminga did have 6 turnovers. I think that is a little bit misleading. A couple of those were on balls where I think he saved them from going out of bounds and tried to find a teammate when he's like kind of being pushed out of bounds almost, and he leaps up, turns, and tries to find Chris Paul and ultimately throws it over his head. That happened a couple of times, so a couple of those turnovers are those. But for the most part, I thought Kuminga was really good, and he was the Warriors' best player on the floor, really for the vast majority of this one. But you're without Steph, you're without Draymond, and it a little bit too little from everybody else on your roster, and you lose 109-99 to the Mavericks in Dallas. Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you as we try to make sense of this Warriors loss to the Mavericks. I think the other thing that stands out, and one of the other things that stands out in this game, is the Warriors were without Draymond Green, of course, which meant you needed to find the other big that you were going to turn to. And first of all, it was interesting that Kevon Looney was the first big off the bench to replace Trayce Jackson-Davis, because without Draymond, Trayce Jackson-Davis started as we all expected. You were not going to start Looney, and you were not going to start Saric. But notably, Kevon Looney got the call before Saric. Not that that was that surprising, but I wanted confirmation of that. It happened, and then Saric eventually came in, and we talked about that run to begin the second quarter. It was let's see, where was it? It was a 17-2 run for Dallas, spanning the first and second quarters. A 4-0 run to end the first for Dallas, and then you add on to that a 13-2 run to begin the second. So in all, a 17-2 run for the Mavericks from the first to the second quarter. That 13-2 run, though, to begin the second quarter, I'm not sure it was a coincidence that those were during the minutes that Saric played in the first half. In the first half, Dario Saric, 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes of that second quarter, minus 11. And I know that there's other players on the floor at that time. There's 4 other Warriors on the court. But Dario Saric, it's rough. Even early in the season when he was shooting the ball well, and he was hitting like 40% of his threes, and he was working great in the pick and roll with Chris Paul, and he was getting on the glass, and he was sometimes getting offensive rebounds and helping you out there, and he was doing some of these small things. He is, just the reality of who he is as a player. He's a liability on the defensive end, and when he is asked to be your 5, as he was tonight, when he's asked to be your 5, and considering how the Warriors like to play, he's asked to be the 5 a lot. He has to be really, really, really good offensively just to be even net, because that's what he is defensively. It's unfortunate. He's had a serious leg injury as well. It's just who he is at this stage of his career. For him to be a net neutral, he has to be really, really good offensively, because on the other end, it's not good. So when he is this poor offensively and can't make an open 3 and struggles and turns the ball over here and there, there's just no point in having him on the court, because he's not going to be a guy who can be positive for you on any sort of consistent basis on the defensive end. So that was notable in this game. Dario Saric getting a rotation shot because Draymond Green was out, and minus 11 in 5 minutes, and Steve Kerr went away from him entirely in the second half until garbage time. And I don't think we're going to see Dario Saric again until garbage time. I don't think we see him in any regular, meaningful minutes for quite a while, unless something crazy happens. Draymond is out again. Looney is out. Trace Jackson-Davis is in foul trouble. Like, it's going to take a certain turn of events for Dario Saric to get back in this rotation. And I think Steve Kerr is telling us that by not putting Saric back in the second half at all. I mean, the normal rotation would have been Saric begin the fourth quarter because he began the second. Did not happen. It did not happen. And especially when you consider what Dallas was doing. Their outside shots were not falling. They were 1 for 17 from the three at one point. They were scoring the vast majority of their points in the paint. 68 of their 109 today were points in the paint. 68-48, they outscored the Warriors points in the paint. And I talked about their big man duo, their center duo of Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively II. It's a hell of a big man duo. And they got Daniel Gafford at the trade deadline from the Wizards. They gave up, I have it here in my notes, they traded away Rashawn Holmes and a 2024 first-round pick. So a first-round pick in the upcoming draft that belonged originally to OKC, so it will not be a very good first-round pick, but a first-round pick and Rashawn Holmes for Daniel Gafford. Daniel Gafford tonight, 10 points, 5 of 5 from the field, 6 rebounds, and 7 blocks. 10, 6, and 7 blocks for Daniel Gafford. And with 5 for 5 from the field for Daniel Gafford, he now has made 33 consecutive field goals. He's 3 away from breaking Wilt Chamberlain's all-time record for most consecutive made field goals. 33 straight made field goals. Now, they are like all layups and dunks, but still, that's impressive for Daniel Gafford. And they got him at the trade deadline, and he has made this Mavericks team that much better. And then their young big man, Derek Lively II, their first-round pick from this most recent draft, he was effective off the bench in nearly 20 minutes. He had 12 points and 8 rebounds, a couple of block shots as well. The Mavericks as a team blocked 13 shots tonight, by the way. 7 of them were from Daniel Gafford, another 2 from Derek Lively off the bench. Those 2 combined to create one of the best center duos in the NBA. There's a couple others out there, I mean, manned by like a superstar like a Jokic or an Embiid. Like by default, those are going to be great center duos because the first one is a legitimate superstar and an MVP and one of the best players in the league. But you've got 2 really quality guys in Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively II, and they dominated the Warriors in the paint for a lot of this game. And the fact that Saric is not in the rotation, even when you are being killed in the paint often, I think that says a lot about where Dario Saric is for the Warriors and in Steve Kerr's mind at this point of the season. Another thing for the Warriors, as Warriors wrap-up continues here on 95.7 The Game, Mark Randy with you, reacting to this 109-99 Warriors loss. 888-957-9570 is the number. Another thing is the Warriors' turnovers in this game. It wasn't terrible, 17 turnovers, and in fact, Dallas also committed 17 turnovers in this game as a team. The difference, though, was it was the Warrior turnovers that came in bursts. When Dallas went on their runs to begin the second and to begin the fourth, it was fueled by Warrior turnovers, specifically that run in the second quarter. The Warrior turnovers were untimely, and they were live ball turnovers that led to Dallas scoring points. Warriors lost this game by 10 points, right? 109-99. The Warriors committed 17 turnovers. Dallas turned those 17 turnovers into 21 points. 17 turnovers, 21 points for Dallas. Dallas also committed 17 turnovers. The Warriors, though, only turned those 17 turnovers into 11 points. So for the Warriors, you lose this game by 10. Each team commits the same amount of turnovers, but one team, Dallas, turns those turnovers into 21 points. The Warriors turn it into 11 points. 21-11 points off turnovers, a 10-point margin. The margin in this game was 10 points. So the turnovers, the total number of turnovers weren't terrible. 17 is not good. But when you consider that Dallas also committed 17, you can live with that. But the kind of turnover matters as well. Dallas's turnovers were generally travels, stepping out of bounds, 3 seconds in the key, a charge drawn by the Warriors, that sort of thing. The Warriors' turnovers led to fast break buckets for the Mavericks. Also in this game, fast break points, Dallas 22 points, and the Warriors 8. Dallas dominated in the paint, 68-48. They got up and down over the Warriors as well, 22-8 fast break points. The bench for Dallas outscored the Warriors bench as well, 37-28, and they dominated points off turnovers, 21-11. Sometimes the game is as simple as looking at those categories in the box score, and that was the case in this one for the Warriors, and they fall again 109-99 to the Dallas Mavericks. The bright spot was Jonathan Kuminga, but too little too late for everybody else offensively, and Dallas has some recent domination over the Warriors. Oddly enough, Dallas is now 9-3 over the Warriors in their last 12 meetings in the regular season. They're 2-0 this season series with 2 games remaining. One of the postponed games after the unfortunate passing of assistant coach Decky was a game against the Mavericks, so the Warriors do have a rescheduled game in Dallas coming up a little bit later, and also a game back at Chase Center, so 2 more games against these Mavericks, so the Warriors can even the season series at 2 if they get both of those. But as you begin to look at the tiebreakers and the standings in the Western Conference, let's take a look one more time here really quickly before we hit a quick break. The Warriors are 34-31. The Mavericks are 38-28. The Mavericks are 3.5 games up on the Warriors. Let's just pretend that the Warriors beat the Mavericks in each of the next 2 meetings, and that evens the regular season series at 2 games apiece. And let's say the Warriors tie the Mavericks at the end of the regular season, okay? So the head-to-head, the tiebreakers are head-to-head record, and again, let's pretend that the Warriors beat the Mavericks both times coming up. So that moves on to the next tiebreaker. The next tiebreaker is one of the 2 teams tied if they are a division winner and the other is not. The division winner takes the crown. They get the tiebreaker. The Mavericks are not currently a division winner. They trailed the Pelicans by a game and a half. Even if they were to catch the Pelicans and win that division, it likely does not matter because the Warriors will not be able to catch the Mavericks if the Mavericks catch the Pelicans. So if the Mavericks catch the Pelicans, there's no way the Warriors are going to be tied with the Mavericks in the first place. But let's pretend that that one is a push as well. Then it goes on to conference record. And conference record is Dallas 22-18, the Warriors 17-23. So barring a disaster for the Mavericks and the Warriors winning out against the West, that tiebreaker goes to the Mavericks. So I say all of that to say this: even if the Warriors beat the Mavericks each of the next 2 times they play to even the season series, the Mavericks will still win the tiebreaker over the Warriors, meaning the Warriors really are not down by 3.5 to Dallas. They're down by 4.5. You're going to have to clear Dallas to get past them in the Western Conference standings. And that is a daunting task, considering you have 17 games left. And you're essentially down 4.5 to the Dallas Mavericks. Not official. Again, there are still games to be played and tiebreakers to be determined. But if you can predict things out just logically based on the current numbers, it seems like the Warriors would have to pass Dallas. And considering you're already 3.5 out, that means you got to make up 4.5 games. That is not going to be easy to do. All right, more to get into on the other side here on a Warriors wrap-up on 95.7 The Game. The Mavericks, they beat the Warriors 109-99. The Warriors have now lost 3 of their last 4. They've got a huge game coming up against the Lakers on Saturday. Hopefully, they get both Stephen Curry and Draymond Green back. We have some numbers on those 2 guys and the Warriors' record without them. It's not pretty, specifically without Stephen Curry. More on that on the other side as Warriors wrap-up continues. The Dubs fall in Dallas 109-99. It's Mark Randy with you on 95.7 The Game. More coming up on the other side.
Now it's time for the closer of the week. Presented by LiftMaster and RNS Doors. Turn your garage into the envy of the neighborhood. Visit rnsdoors.com. This week's closer comes from Kerr.
Welcome back. JK, Jonathan Kuminga, one of the highlights for the Warriors tonight, finished with a game-high 27 points, 8 of 17 from the field, 2 of 2 from downtown, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. Kuminga getting to the line at will at times in this game, and he's been doing that a lot recently. However, I think maybe the highlight of the game for me, in terms of a positive Warriors highlight, was Jonathan Kuminga, with the ball in his hands, but not scoring. It was him passing. It was near the end of the third quarter when the Warriors, again, were still in this game. Kuminga, he had just hit a three-pointer to cut it to a 4-point game eventually. The Mavericks made a couple of buckets, back up to an 8-point game. And then the Warriors had the ball late in the third, and Kuminga, he drove towards the middle part of the key, like from up top, and drove kind of towards the left block. He got right past Tim Hardaway Jr., and then it was Derek Lively II, the Mavericks' first-round pick from this most recent draft, comes over to help, and Kuminga, sensing the help, kind of leaps into the air and throws a wraparound pass around Lively to a cutting Looney who's over on the right block, and Looney, an easy lay-in for a couple of points. And it was a great play by Kuminga, and I feel like when we talk about Kuminga and what he's been doing well, we focus so much on just his ability to get to the rim and score. And I've also talked a lot about him evolving as an offensive weapon and getting to the line more and becoming a very reliable free throw shooter. But that's another angle of his game that is developing. It's Kuminga being able to read the defense, see where the help is coming from, and all in one fluid motion, find the right pass to make and set up his teammate for an easy bucket. So a lot to be happy about with Jonathan Kuminga in this game. But other than that, not a ton of bright spots for the Warriors. They ultimately fall in this game by 10 points. Kuminga with 27, and just not great shooting games elsewhere. Klay Thompson was 3 for 13. Chris Paul and Brandon Pajemski were 4 for 12. GP2 missed all 3 of the shots he took, including 2 from downtown. Wiggins was 5 for 12. Not bad. In fact, I think he had a pretty nice day in this one. 17 points and 5 rebounds. I thought Wiggins was fine. Certainly was not the reason the Warriors lost. Trace Jackson-Davis was his normal active and positive self. He had a couple of nice moments and sequences in this game as well, but just not enough shooting. You shoot 40% from the field, 9 of 28 from downtown. You hold the Mavericks to only 6 for 27 from deep, but they dominate you in the paint, and they win this game by 10 points, 109-99. All right, let's hear from the head coach, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr, talking with the media postgame in Dallas as the Warriors now travel out to L.A. after this loss to the Mavericks. Again, 109-99 was the final. Here is what Steve Kerr, Warriors head coach, had to say about this Warriors loss in Dallas tonight.
Had a lot of turnovers in the first half. Felt like some real killers, too, that turned into points the other way. They scored 21 points off of our turnovers tonight. A lot of them felt like they were in the second quarter. So I thought we got off to a good start. First half, we had good ball movement, good pace, and then things slowed down quite a bit for us in the second.
Where do you feel like you guys missed Draymond the most tonight?
What Draymond does, he just he puts his impact on the game one way or the other. So, but it doesn't matter. People get hurt, and you got to respond.
I think you guys, you had a really good record for like a 6-week stretch, and I think now 1-3 in the last 4. Do you feel like you've lost some momentum here?
A little bit, for sure. I mean, the record shows that, but I still like who our team is. We're hoping to get Steph back for Saturday. I like the team a lot better now than I did, a couple months ago, where we were really sorting through a lot of things. So I think we have an identity. I think we know who we are. I think we'll bounce back here, and I'm excited about the last part of the season.
Did the standings become a little daunting?
No, you can't worry about it. I mean, we look at them every day, obviously, but there's nothing we can do about that. But the season, it really is a marathon, and at any point in the season, you rattle off 10 wins in a row, and then, that matters, whether it's in the beginning or the end, it doesn't matter. And I still have no doubt that this team can get on a great run and make a good push.
It seemed like you guys kept Luka in check for the most part. How do you feel you guys executed the game?
I thought our half-court defense was pretty good. They missed some shots that they could have made, clearly, but overall, I thought, our defense was not the problem. It was much more our offense. They had 13 blocked shots. A lot of those were just us kind of wildly driving into, Gafford without, getting a body into him first to take him out of his shot blocking position. And then just a lot of stagnant possessions, not enough flow, not enough movement.
That's Warriors head coach Steve Kerr after the loss in Dallas tonight. 109-99 was the final. To quickly summarize some of the things that Steve Kerr hit on there, and I agree with a lot of it. Untimely turnovers. Yeah, it led to the Dallas runs to begin the second and fourth quarters, and not just turnovers, but live ball turnovers that led to easy, fast break buckets. The Mavericks in this game, they outscored the Warriors in the fast break 22-8, and those also turned into a lot of points in the paint, and Dallas was equally dominant in that area as well. 68-48, the point in the paint's advantage. Steve Kerr said that the defense was not the problem. It was the offense. That's relatively plain to see. The offense, I don't think the execution was terrible. There were some bad decisions, and I think Steve Kerr is right on the fact that there were 13 Dallas blocks. Some of that was good defense by Dallas, and credit Gafford, credit their big guys for those blocks. But it's also the Warriors, kind of some wild drives into the paint. I think Pajemski a couple of times was guilty of that. Maybe Kuminga a time or two. Wiggins guilty of that as well at times. But when nothing is falling for you outside, you kind of have a sense to, all right, let's just aggressively attack the paint and try to get something going inside. Credit Dallas, though, for being able to defend that well. And the shots aren't falling from downtown. You got to try something. So it's not the end of the world for the Warriors to try that. But Dallas had that relatively well covered as well. A couple of interesting things from Steve Kerr. He was asked if the standings are daunting at this point. I mean, we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, and it's really gotten to be a little bit of a problem for the Warriors looking ahead. They're the 10th seed in the West right now, a game and a half behind the Lakers, who are, by the way, down by 13 with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in Sacramento. So unless there is a dramatic comeback for the Lakers, they will lose, and the Warriors will be only a game behind the Lakers for the 9th spot in the West. Warriors are in LA to take on the Lakers in a few days on Saturday, so we have that to look forward to. And as I am saying that, Harrison Barnes makes the three for the Kings, so up to a 16-point lead for Sacramento. With 6.5 to go in the fourth quarter or so. So looking good for the Kings, which is good news for the Warriors because that would mean a Lakers loss. But Steve Kerr was asked if the standings are becoming daunting because you have a lot of ground to gain, if you are to pass some of these teams in the Western Conference play-in race. And he said, no, not daunting. There's nothing we can do about it. We know the situation, but it's not daunting. He also said, though, and he's reaffirmed this time and time again, he said it to Dibbs and myself on Willard and Dibbs yesterday, said it again tonight. I think we'll bounce back here, and he feels pretty confident they have a run in them. The question, though, is how beneficial is that run going to be? Because it's looking more and more likely that it's going to be very difficult for the Warriors to get any higher than 9. Now, 9 is certainly better than 10. At least I think so. If you're 9, you get a home game, the first game of your play-in experience, although the Warriors are actually a better road team than a home team this season. Interestingly enough, they're 3 games over on the road and 500 at home. But if you are the 9, you get a home game. For those of you unfamiliar or not sure exactly how the play-in works, let's just run through it really quick. So the play-in tournament is the 7 through 10 seeds in both conferences. The 7 and the 8 seeds, right now, let's just pretend it's all set. The 7 and the 8 seeds, the Sacramento Kings and the Dallas Mavericks. Those two teams play each other. Since the Kings are the 7 currently, they would host that game. The winner of that game is the 7 seed and would then play the 2 to begin the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. The loser of that game, either the Kings or the Mavericks, then plays the winner of the 9-10 matchup, which is currently the Lakers and the Warriors. Because the Lakers are currently the 9, they would host that game against the Warriors. If the Warriors win or if the Lakers win, they then go on the road to take on that loser that we talked about earlier of the 7 and 8 game between the Kings and the Mavericks. And the loser, the Kings or the Mavericks of that game, the loser of that game is the home team against the winner of the Lakers-Warriors 9-10 matchup. And then the winner of that last game, where you have the winner or the loser of the top half and the winner of the bottom half, the winner of that game is the 8 seed. The loser is out. So if you're in the bottom half, you got to win twice, at least once on the road, maybe twice. And if you're in the top half, you just got to win 1 of 2, and both of them might be at home. So there's a big benefit to being in the 7 or the 8, and there is a slight benefit to being in the 9 over the 10, because the 10 has to do the dirty work on the road, consecutive games, just to get in to the postseason in the first place. But not daunting for Steve Kerr, and he still feels like his team can put a stretch together of good basketball, and maybe they climb to the 9. Maybe they get lucky, because they're going to need some luck and need some help from others. Maybe they climb up to the 8. But as of right now, it seems like the highest that this team can realistically go is the 9 seed, and that's well within their reach. If the Kings hold on, they're up by 13 with 5:43 to go in the fourth. If the Kings hold on, the Lakers will be 36-31, even with the Warriors in the loss column. The Warriors will be 34-31, a game back, but they've played 2 fewer games. And you've got 2 games against the Lakers in your final 17, including Saturday in Los Angeles. If the Warriors can take care of business down the stretch, they can easily be the 9, and they would host the 10, most likely the Lakers. You win that game, then you take on the loser of the 7 and 8 matchup, win that game, and you're into the postseason, maybe taking on the Denver Nuggets. Or maybe the T-Wolves, or maybe the Thunder. It's not looking great for the Warriors, but there is still a path, and they can start on that path in a good way with a win on Saturday against the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, it's a Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game as we keep things going. Just a little bit more here with you on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you as we continue to react to this 109-99 Mavericks win over the Golden State Warriors. Let's get to our hardest worker of the game, which is brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Are you looking for a career in law enforcement? Learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. This is an easy one for me. I got to go with Jonathan Kuminga. He was the Warriors' hardest worker, and you can make a case that he was one of the hardest workers on either side of the court, on either team tonight. 27 points, led all scorers, 8 of 17 from the field, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, made both of his three-pointers. Had a couple of assists as well to go with 4 rebounds. He was the Warriors' most consistent offensive threat on a game where they only scored 99 points. Jonathan Kuminga is our hardest worker of the game. Again, brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. And if you want an idea as to how rough this was of an offensive game for the Warriors, Golden State had just 15 second quarter points. That matched their lowest output in any quarter this season. The Warriors scored 99 or fewer points, exactly 99 tonight, for the 3rd time this season. So a rare low point total for the Warriors. By the way, they are 1-2 in those games, oddly enough. 99 points exactly, only the 3rd time they've failed to reach triple digits this season. The Warriors only 19 assists, tied a season low from very early in the season against the Phoenix Suns. And the Warriors, they made fewer than 10 three-pointers in this game. They made 9. Fewer than 10 made threes in a game for just the 3rd time this season. So a lot of bad metrics, bad numbers for the Warriors offensively in this game. If you are thinking you would like to go out on a little bit of a positive note, I do have a couple of good statistics for you. Jonathan Kuminga, his 20th 20-point game of the season. He scored 20 or more in 7 of his last 9 games. He continues to develop on the offensive end of the floor. Brandon Pajemski, his 16th game this year with 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, leads all rookies with such games. Again, at least 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. 16th game with those stats at least. And then Trayce Jackson-Davis, he had 10 or more points for the 19th time this season. And in games where he has scored at least 20, or he has played at least 20 minutes, TJD that is, he's averaging over 11 points on 72% shooting, 8.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.5 blocks per game. You give him minutes, he's going to produce, and he produced nicely tonight to the tune of 10 points and 9 rebounds did Trayce Jackson-Davis. All right, that'll do it for Warriors wrap-up tonight here on 95.7 The Game. Again, the Warriors fall to the Mavericks 109-99. The Warriors have lost 3 of their next 4. Now they get a couple of days off, try to get ready for the Lakers coming up on Saturday, 5:30 from Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. 5:30 tip on Saturday. Pre-game coverage, of course, begins at 4:30 with Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game, and that is a really, really important game. The Warriors would love to win it, and it feels like the Lakers might be coming off of a loss, although the game not officially over yet in Sacramento. 3.5 minutes left. The Kings in possession of the basketball, leading by 13 points. If the Kings do hold on, the Lakers will be a game ahead of the Warriors for the 9 seed in the Western Conference. The Warriors could be able to get even with the Lakers when the two teams meet on Saturday in L.A. All right, for Sterling Bennett behind the glass, my name is Mark Randy signing off. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, the Warriors fall 109-99 on the road in Dallas. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on 95.7 The Game.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes repair